It was a Tuesday morning, exactly 3 years ago, when I decided to quit the one thing that was supposed to change my life. I had been working on a new high-income skill, something I knew deep down could break the cycle of exhaustion I was living in. I had done everything the gurus told me to do. I bought the courses, I wore my headphones to block out the world, I put in the hours while my friends were out. But on day 25, I looked at my bank account, I looked at my progress bar, and I saw nothing. The silence was deafening. I felt like a fraud. I felt like the universe was sending me a clear, cold signal that I simply wasn't one of the lucky ones. So I stopped. I went back to my old life, feeling a strange, heavy sense of relief that the struggle was finally over. But here is the biological reality that haunts me to this day. Neural imaging confirms that the breakthrough I was looking for was already physically manifesting in my brain. I was less than 48 hours away from my first major lead. I wasn't failing. I was just standing in the waiting room of success, and I walked out right before my name was called. The reality is this: your brain doesn't actually want you to succeed. It wants you to be predictable. To your biology, a new habit is an energy-intensive threat. Your brain will literally manufacture boredom, physical fatigue, and deep existential doubt to trick you into stopping before you waste any more calories on a future it cannot yet see. Every time you quit a new habit in those first 30 days, you aren't just losing a goal, you're losing a version of yourself that was almost born. Think about the years of potential you've already lost because you mistook the waiting room for the exit.
We often think of our lack of consistency as a character flaw. We look at Mike, slumped in his chair, scrolling through his phone, and we call him lazy or unmotivated. But behavioral data is undeniable. Mike's brain is actually doing exactly what it was designed to do for the last 200,000 years. Back in the Pleistocene era, novelty was synonymous with danger. If you tried a new path through the forest, you might get eaten by something you didn't see. If you tried a new way of hunting, you might starve before you perfected the technique. Your brain evolved to reward the known, even if the known was mediocre, even if it was miserable. Evolution doesn't care if you're a millionaire or if you're fulfilled. It only cares that you survive long enough to pass on your genes. When you start a new habit, you are essentially telling your 2026 brain to override a 200,000-year-old survival mechanism. Think about how this feels internally. On day one, you have what psychologists call uninformed optimism. Your brain allows a temporary spike in dopamine because the idea of change feels like a reward in itself. You feel powerful. You feel like this time is different. But by day 10, the novelty has worn off. The accountant in your basal ganglia looks at the energy budget and sees that you are spending massive amounts of glucose on this new routine without an immediate payoff. To the accountant, this is a financial disaster. This is where the safety of the known kicks in. You start to feel a strange, heavy pull toward your old habits. It feels like boredom, but it's actually a sophisticated biological defense mechanism. It's your brain trying to pull you back into the cave where it's safe. How does this appear in Mike's daily life? It's that voice that says, "We can just start again on Monday." It's the sudden, overwhelming urge to check social media when the work gets slightly difficult. Your brain is manufacturing productive procrastination to keep you from the danger of growth. You aren't broken. You are just being governed by a prehistoric operating system that is terrified of your potential, because potential requires energy, and energy is what keeps you alive in a famine that isn't coming. You think you're choosing to quit, but your neurons are actually performing a cost-benefit analysis without your permission.
Meet your internal enemy, the efficiency hunter. In the world of neuroscience, this is the basal ganglia acting as a stingy corporate accountant. Its entire job is to minimize neural friction. Neural friction is the resistance you feel when you have to think about what you're doing. It's the opposite of flow. When Jack brushes his teeth or drives his car, there is zero neural friction. His brain has automated these tasks to save energy. It's like a ball rolling down a well-worn groove. But when Mike tries to write a line of code or record a video for the first time, his prefrontal cortex, the most energy-expensive part of the brain, is firing at 100%. The efficiency hunter hates this. It sees the prefrontal cortex burning through your daily glucose like a wildfire. You'll notice that after about 2 weeks of a new habit, Mike's motivation doesn't just fade, it feels like it's being actively sabotaged. He starts to have rational thoughts about why this isn't working. The market is too saturated for this. I don't have the right equipment. I'll focus on this once my life is less busy. These aren't Mike's thoughts. These are the scripts the efficiency hunter uses to get him to stop burning glucose. It is literally trying to cut the motivation budget because the ROI, the return on investment, isn't instant. Think about the feeling of mental fog that hits you when you sit down to do deep work. That fog is a physical manifestation of neural friction. It's the feeling of your brain trying to downshift. How does this play out over months? You become a chronic beginner. You are addicted to the first 7 days of a habit because that is the only time the brain allows the dopamine of hope to flow. Once the work becomes work, the efficiency hunter takes over. You're paying the entry fee over and over again, but leaving the theater before the movie even starts. To break this, you have to realize that the efficiency hunter isn't a judge of your potential, it's just a gatekeeper of your energy. It doesn't know what you're capable of, it only knows how much glucose you have left. Welcome to the lag time abyss. This is the most dangerous place in human psychology. It is the dark, foggy canyon between action taken and result generated. In this space, the physics of cause and effect seem to be completely broken. In almost every other area of modern life, Mike has been trained for instant feedback. He presses a button, he gets a like. He orders food, it arrives in 20 minutes. He scrolls his phone and he gets a hit of dopamine every 1.5 seconds. He has been conditioned to believe that if he does X, then Y should happen immediately. But high-level success, the kind Jack is looking for, operates on a dopamine lag. Inside the lag time abyss, your effort is being stored, not vanished. Think of it like a massive neural battery. Every time Mike sits down to work when he feels like quitting, he is adding a tiny, invisible amount of charge to that battery. But here's the catch. The battery doesn't power the light bulb until it is 100% full. If you charge a battery to 99% and then stop, you still have zero light. This is why the first 30 days feel like a ghost. To the outside observer and to Mike's own efficiency hunter, it looks like he is failing. But beneath the surface, something called neuro-adaptation is happening. Your brain is slowly thinning out the old neural pathways, the scrolling in the hoodie pathways, and thickening the new ones. Imagine Mike is trying to boil a giant pot of water. For the first 9 minutes, the water looks exactly the same as when he started. It's cold, it's still. If Mike were a results-oriented person, he would look at that water at minute 8 and say, "This isn't working, the heat is a lie." But the heat is being absorbed. The molecules are moving faster and faster. The energy is being stored in the system. And then, at 212 degrees, everything changes at once. The transition from still water to boiling water is violent, sudden, and transformative. Most people quit at 211 degrees.
They spend their whole lives heating up pots of water and then turning them off right before the boil. They live in a state of constant simmer, but never steam. Jack doesn't look at the results. He looks at his neural battery meter. He knows that as long as he is adding charge, the outcome is a mathematical certainty. He has moved from hoping for success to building the physics of success.
In the late 20th century, behavioral scientists conducted a series of variable reward experiments that explain exactly why Mike quits and Jack continues. They placed subjects in an environment where they had to perform a task, let's say pressing a lever, to receive a reward. Group A received a reward every single time they pressed the lever, a 1-to-1 ratio. Group B received a reward randomly, sometimes after 1 press, sometimes after 50, sometimes after 100. At first, Group A, the Mike group, was much happier. They pressed the lever, they got the treat. But as soon as the scientists turned off the reward mechanism, Group A stopped pressing the lever almost immediately. They felt cheated, they became frustrated, angry, and eventually lethargic. But Group B, the Jack group, the ones who were used to the lag, kept pressing that lever for hours, even when no reward was coming. Their brains had developed something called resistance to extinction. This is the shadow study of your own life. Most of us have been raised in a Group A world. We are biologically addicted to the 1-to-1 ratio of effort to reward. But the real world, the world of high-level business, creative mastery, and massive wealth, is a Group B environment. It is a variable reward system. You might work for 29 days with 0 reward, and then on day 30, you get a 10x reward. Think about the story of the Chinese bamboo tree. For 4 years, you water it and weed the soil, and you see absolutely nothing, not a single sprout. To any neighbor watching, you look like a madman. You are watering dirt. But in the 5th year, the bamboo tree grows 80 feet in just 6 weeks. The question is, did the tree grow 80 feet in 6 weeks, or did it grow 80 feet in 5 years? The answer is 5 years. If you had stopped watering the dirt during year 3 because you didn't see a result, the tree would have died underground. This is the psychological battle of the first 30 days. You are watering dirt. Your brain accountant is screaming that you are wasting water, but the roots are what matters. The lag time isn't a bug in the system, it is a feature. It's designed to ensure that you are actually ready for what you're asking for. Learn to fall in love with the invisible. Celebrate the fact that you watered the dirt today, regardless of whether anything came out of the ground. The roots are growing. Now, we have to talk about the part of this video Mike won't like. The biological reality is that 99% of people watching this will forget every word I've said by tomorrow morning. Why? Because your ego actually prefers the problem over the solution. Your ego loves the drama of the struggle. It loves the identity of being the underdog who just can't get a break. As long as Mike is trying, but failing, he gets to keep his excuses. He gets to stay safe in his current life while still feeling like a good person because he tried. Success is terrifying to the ego. Success means a new set of problems. It means you no longer have an excuse for your unhappiness. It means you have to leave the safety of your current peer group, who also isn't succeeding. This is why Mike self-sabotages on day 20. It's not that the work is too hard, it's that he is getting too close to the ghost. He is getting too close to the version of himself that actually succeeds. And his ego, the part of him defined by his current limitations, is terrified of being replaced. The hard truth is this: most of us are more comfortable with a familiar misery than an unknown happiness. New people are strangers. To your brain, a stranger is a threat. You have to ask yourself a checkmate question. Do you actually want to change, or do you just want the feeling of being someone who is trying to change?
If you just want the feeling, then keep doing what you're doing. Keep starting things and quitting on day 15. Your ego will stay fed and you will stay safe in your hole. But if you want the reality, you have to be willing to kill the old you. You have to be willing to walk through the lag time abyss and let the familiar misery die of starvation. The 99% fail because they are trying to bring their old self into their new life. But the new life has a very strict entry requirement. You must leave your ego at the door. You have to be willing to be nobody for 30 days so you can become somebody for the next 30 years. Now that you can name the ghost, it no longer has power over you. When Mike feels that boredom on day 14, when he feels that brain fog on day 20, when he feels that existential urge to check his phone on day 28, he can now look at it and say, there it is. That's the efficiency hunter. That's the lag time abyss. This is the signal that I am on the right track. The shift from victim to architect happens the moment you realize that these feelings aren't signs of failure, they are the required entry price. Imagine Mike were climbing a mountain and it started to get cold and the air started to get thin. He wouldn't say, "Oh no, the mountain is broken. I must be a bad climber." He would say, "I must be getting high up. This is what it feels like to be near the summit." Success feels like boredom. It feels like doubt. It feels like nothing is happening. If you can learn to relabel these feelings as progress markers, you become unstoppable. Slow down. Take a breath. You are not broken, Mike. You were just using an outdated map. You were looking for sprouts when you should have been looking for roots. Now that you know where the treasure is buried, under 30 days of invisible progress, you have the coordinates. You are no longer a chronic beginner. You are now a system designer. And systems don't care about your feelings. Systems only care about the input. To survive the next 30 days, Mike doesn't need more motivation. He needs a better neural architecture. Here are your 3 quantifiable steps. Step 1, the mental shift, the 30-day contract. Stop evaluating your results daily. In fact, forbid yourself from looking at your stats or your bank account for the first 30 days. Treat this as a blackout period. Your only metric for success is, did I show up today? If the answer is yes, you won. Period. You are watering the dirt. Step 2, the biological habit, dopamine fasting. The efficiency hunter wins when it can offer Mike a cheap reward like scrolling his phone to replace the hard reward of his goal. For the first 30 days of a new habit, Mike must reduce his cheap dopamine consumption by 50%. No scrolling before noon. This forces his brain to seek satisfaction in the high-effort task, accelerating the neuro-adaptation process. Step 3, the environment change, the frictionless path. Remember neural friction? You need to outsmart your brain accountant by making the good habit cost less energy. If Mike wants to work out, he sleeps in his gym clothes. If he wants to write, he leaves his laptop open on his desk with the document already loaded. Reduce the distance to start to less than 20 seconds. By doing these 3 things, you are physically rewiring the lag time abyss. You are building a bridge while you walk on it. The checkmate question is this: what if the boredom you're feeling right now isn't a sign to stop, but the final boss you have to beat to level up? If Mike quits now, he is just confirming his brain accountant's belief that he isn't worth the energy. If he continues, he is reprogramming his biology to trust his vision over his fears. Which one are you going to choose today? There is a golden rule that the most successful people in the world live by, but they rarely talk about it in interviews. It's this: your life is the sum of the things you did when you were bored. Anyone can work when they are inspired. Anyone can run when they are being cheered by a crowd. But the people who change the world, the ones who leave a legacy, are the ones who can stand in the waiting room of the lag time abyss for 30 days,
60 days, or a year, without needing to see a single sprout. They know the ghost of potential is watching. As you close this video, I want you to look at the one thing you've been thinking about quitting. Look at it not with frustration, but with curiosity. Is it really not working? Or are you just standing in the fog, inches away from the heat? The 30 days will pass anyway. You can either spend them starting over for the 100th time, or you can spend them finally meeting the person you were always meant to become. But there is a silent force even deeper than the efficiency hunter, a force that governs not just your habits, but your entire perception of reality. It's the reason some people see walls where others see doors. But that is a story for the next time we meet. Stay in the waiting room, Mike. The door is about to open.